like, hey, well, I want to make some explanation about the formation of urine, or urine formation, whatever you call it. So here is what and how urine is formed. You see in the kidney there are parts what we call nephron, and those nephrons, they have what we call the arteries. So the first artery which takes the blood to the nephron, it has a wider lumen, so blood will be flowing into the nephron in a high range. So it will be collecting in the what? In the glomerulus. So that glomerulus, there is other artery which is called the efferent artery. So that efferent artery, it has a smaller lumen or a narrow lumen. So blood will be entering in much but getting out slow. So that would create there a big pressure in the what? In the glomerular. So that glomerular, it will squeeze out, it has capillaries which will be filtering that blood. That is what we call ultrafiltration. Things like glucose, amino acids, small amino acids, urea are the things that can pass there because they are small in size. But if we are to have proteins in our filtrate, that therefore our glomerular is kind of damaged because there shouldn't be protein in what? In the filtrate. And that filtrate is what we call the renal filtrate or the glomerular filtrate. So after that filtrate is filtered into the Bowman's capsule, it is then transferred to what we call the proximal convoluted tubule. So that proximal convoluted tubule, it is like a pipe. Just imagine this is the nephron. So this is the glomerular, this is the Bowman's capsule. Then it comes to the what we call the proximal convoluted tubule. It is like this somehow. So this proximal convoluted tubule, it is where selective reabsorption of necessary things takes place. For example, like glucose, because glucose is really needed in the body for making energy. Then some example of amino acids and other mineral salts, but urea is not needed in the body, so it will be left there. So then after that, just know that selective reabsorption takes place by diffusion. So after that diffusion takes place, we are left with urea and some other things which are ascended to what we call the lump of Henle. This is where active transport takes place and water is removed because water would be really necessary for the body. Some water is removed and it is then added into the body. So after that, it rises up in what we call the distal convoluted tubule. There is a part which I have not spoke about, what we call the ascending lump of Henle and the descending. Well, make research of those. So I'm talking about what we call the distal convoluted tubule. This is where water is added in and some water is removed, but we want our urea to be concentrated, so some water is removed here, and then after that the concentrated urea goes to what we call the collecting duct, and that collecting duct is connected to what we call the urinary bladder. And the urinary bladder, when it gets full, you feel like, yeah, I want to pee, so you go to the toilet or whatever and you pee the urine. But note this, that there shouldn't be glucose, proteins in the urine, because glucose is a sign of diabetes. If you have much glucose in your body, that means you have diabetes, so you'll be giving out urine. Since the diffusion won't be taking place, now proteins, in the case of protein shouldn't be in urine, because if urine is containing protein, that shows that your glomerulus or the capillaries are damaged and they have become bigger, so they will be able to let the proteins pass through to go into the Bowman's capsule. So that's it. make sure you note it, because if you don't note it, it is your problem.